Good morning, everybody, and welcome to WSAN Radio. In the studio right now, we have Bobby McMorris with his screenplay called Divorce Saved My Marriage. I already talked to Bobby off camera. Where'd you come up with this idea from? But he's going to let us know. So he's in the studio right now. We located at 502 Montana. Without further ado, here is Bobby McMorris as I make my way down from the pulpit down to the floor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Oh, man. I remember, what was that one play you did? Fix It or Mr. Fix It?
Mr. Fix It, that was the last play.
That was the last play because I remember that because we promoted that and kept on rolling it and rolling it. I was out of town when that happened and I didn't get a chance to come see it, but I'm surely going to try to make your play either that Friday or Saturday.
Okay, we'd love to have you
there and see what's going on. And people have been asking me, so Ron, I'm seeing what you're running about Bobby, but I can't digest Divorce Saved My Marriage. So many people say, "Ooh, good riddance, I'm done." And I said, "Well, I'm gonna ask you about that title because I was curious too." So we were talking off camera, what you told me was about. So I'll let you go ahead and do that again because I think people want to know about that. How you get that title?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show.
Well,
it's been a while. Good to always see you again and talk with you. First things first is I think the title for a play is very important. I've always learned that it's the first thing that the audience sees that before they see anything else that helps them to decide if it's something that's catchy or something that they want to see. So I try to always have a title that's a little play on words. That's first things first. And in this one, I do a lot of research on all of my material. So I was studying and reading on relationships and the idea behind it, regardless of what type of relationship, whether it be a friendship, marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, dating someone. I'm sure everyone can attest to there's been a time when someone says, "I'm out." That caused things to sometimes straighten up. So that's the idea behind me putting it in the title of as in a narrative form.
So did you come up with the screenplay first before you gave the title, or you gave the title and then came up with the screenplay?
Well, that's a good question. I generally like to come up with my titles first,
okay.
Because that get me a point to where I'm always referencing back to make sure and I'm tying up all the loose ends in the play and the story, because I always revert back to the title. In my earlier writings, that there have been times where I came up with the title at the end, but for me, it's much easier when I have my title down first. And that takes some time to come up with. That's just nothing that I come up with overnight. Sometimes I it takes maybe a week or a month to come up with a good, solid title.
Do you write down certain titles and you start eliminating them, or is it something or just pops in your head?
No, actually, I come up with a lot of different ideas, and I kind of, sleep on it, kind of rewrite it, kind of twerk it a little bit until I get, until it rolls off the tongue right. So it's catchy.
Right? Yeah. And so writing a screenplay, for everybody, I haven't written one. I voice a lot of stuff, but writing one, when you start writing it, do you have your characters all set? And if not, how do you add characters in once you get going?
No, with that, so the first thing that I come up with is a title. Then I come up with the characters, like how I'm going to bring this, how am I going to tell this story? And of course, that's through the characters, right? So I try to always have the characters that I know that I'm going to need to make the play pop. So I come up with that all in the beginning.
So your cast you have right now, I'm gonna call them a cast of characters. I've seen some of you before. Right?
Yeah.
How do you go about choosing your cast right now?
Most of them have worked with me before. There's Jackie Carter. She's been in about maybe 5 productions. Walter Sanders, the third. He's been in 3. Brian Roche, this is the second time coming back. Miss Elizabeth Wells, I'm sure a lot of people remember her character. She plays Miss Jenkins, a nosy neighbor. So she's been in about like 5. There's Genevia Lachey, this is her first time working with us, and then Miss Simmons, Miss Sandra Simmons. So it's her first time.
Okay.
So generally, if I'm out somewhere and if I run into some comedians, some singers, and I always ask what their interest is in acting.
Yeah.
So I always kind of looking for talent. Yeah.
So we all know that chemistry is important for putting things together. How's the chemistry with this cast?
Well, this cast is a great bunch. It's a great group. I couldn't be more proud and happy to work with such kind and loving people. You want to have fun. You want to make the environment fun. You want everybody to get along, and you want everybody to love what they do. And when all that comes together, you get people that, don't want to go home at the end of rehearsal. We'll go from inside the building to the parking lot
And still be talking.
and still be talking to about 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
That's, and I like being around people that love the arts.
Yeah. So who's the class comedian? I won't say class clown, but that probably is another playwright you're gonna write. Those are my words, class clown. But anyway, who's the comedian out there to always give everybody not a hard time but messing with them?
In rehearsals?
Yeah.
Well, that would have to be me.
I would think that. Well, you remind the type of person. They can always get it right. You say something and just everybody just crack up.
Yeah, they do. They have a lot of stories on them. Let them tell it. And just sometimes when we sit around and we talk and laugh, just the things that they gather is pretty funny. But all of them have great personalities because they're all jokesters themselves. So
yeah,
they all bring their character traits to the table, and it's just a fun time. I love being around each and every one of them. So.
Oh, wow. Well, maybe one day we get the whole cast in here.
I'm sure they will.
If it's possible, let me know. And next week if we can, but if not, we'll do the week after the show. I'd like to get them all in here because everybody's curious. What's the last lady's name you pronounced? Jay?
Miss Jenkins?
No, the new one. Geneva. Well, we sat down here for about 2 hours trying to pronounce her name.
Oh, yeah. Well, we call her Nay for short.
Well, we just call her Jay.
Yeah. Now I will say Nay is also probably the one in the group that's the most that pulls the most jokes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have to give that to her.
All right.
Yeah.
So is this comedy, serious comedy, or what is it like? If somebody comes to your play right now, what are they expecting to see?
It's some good drama, and there is some comic relief, but the most important thing is the message. So it's good to laugh, and it's good to have good singing or good songs and all those things. But to me, I write to make the world a better place. That's kind of my mission, and that's why I write. Is to provoke change, prevent disaster. That was one of my original mission statements.
Yeah.
But the message is what I like to leave people with.
So you got a good message to give without giving it away. I don't want you to give it away. Because I asked somebody one time years ago about something. They would not, I answered the question 6 different ways. You almost got me, Ron.
Right.
I'm not gonna give it away. So, but you had the Joe Long Theater.
Joe Long Theater. That's the 22nd and 23rd. The show on that Friday is at 8 p.m. and the show on Saturday at 7:30.
So, so how are the ticket sales going?
They're going good. One thing I would like to say is that I've done 17 original plays, 23 rewrites, and over the course of the last few plays, you mentioned Mr. Fix-It. And then prior to that, The Unexpected Guest. San Antonio has really supported us through the years. So the last couple of plays have sold out. But, it just proves that, if you work hard, you persevere, and, you give good content, people will support you.
So let's roll back a little bit.
Okay.
So we jumped right into where you're at right now.
Right.
Let's talk about where you came from.
Okay.
What started off you writing plays, and what was your very first play that you wrote?
I went to my first play in LA. That was 2001. It was called God Don't Like Ugly. Yeah. And that was my first time being in a play. And just walking up to the venue downtown LA, you know, seeing all the vendors outside and just the big stage. And I mean, that's when the theater bug hit. And that's when I knew I wanted to, you know, be in theater to write. I didn't know, most productions, especially musicals, are different. There's always a writer, there's a different director, and there's a producer. You know, I didn't know. All I know is I wanted that. I wanted to do that whole stage. So
yeah,
actually, I came back and I called my Mr. Byers. He was my English composition 2 teacher, and he writes poetry. So I told him I wanted to, write a play. I wanted to get into playwriting, and he sat me down and taught me the elements of drama. And then I prayed, about like, God, I don't, what can I write about? Like, I don't know what kind of topics or things to write about. And I remember I was driving through the East Side, and right down the Broncos. And I was just looking at the current state at the time. And I said, that's it. I'll turn my misery into my ministry. Those type of, broken homes, just kind of desolate, like kind of communities, those kind of things, like I always like to see better. So that's what I started to write. And my first play was God Can Change You. And it was performed at Victory Gospel right here on the East Side, not too far from here.
Okay.
So that was my first play, God Can Change You.
Wow. So you got the bug.
Right.
You started writing. So from then to now, how much you think that you progress, and how much you think the people you touched and the things that you do? Because I'm pretty sure you get people coming, I won't be in your next play.
Yeah, I get it a lot.
And a lot of them don't have, they just, put it this way, they see the finished product.
Right.
But they don't see what you went through to get to the finished product.
Right.
And do they want to really go to rehearsal and do it? All they say is, bam, 2 hours, whatever it is of time.
Right.
Well, I can do that. But you know,
Right.
to get those 2 hours in. Do you have that stamina to do that?
Right. That's a really good question. I can answer that in a lot of different ways. But I will say that I still have a lot of emails, have a lot of letters from how coming to my shows have changed people's marriages, have changed people's lives. Through the years, I saved those things in my, in my man cave, I should say. I have a lot of these in frames on the wall. So I feel that, we touched a lot of people. As far as growth, that's important to me. So I've done a lot of things to make sure that I develop as a writer. I've been to, and not just a writer, but even an actor. So I've taken several professional acting classes. I've taken college classes in theater. I attend musicals all the time. I go to different, workshops. And I've seen how through the years, how my writing has developed.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm most proud of.
And the way the current situation is out now in the world, in the States, even in Texas, things have taken a dramatic wrong turn. Talk about political wise, and people are just plain, they're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Right.
I always explain to people, how can somebody that don't have a science degree know about science and tell you what's best for us? I don't get it. You never studied that, but you're going to go ahead and just feed us. This is what we're going to do, and it don't work. I see right now it's going to backfire on everybody. So with that being said, do you see yourself writing something like political?
If I'm led that way,
okay.
I would say so. But at this point, I don't see anything on the horizon. As far as writing, tapping into that. I don't know. That's one of the subjects that religion, political, money, a lot of things where people, you know, have their differences. But that is a tough subject. But I don't know. I don't have any. But who knows if a good idea come to me and I can see how I can put a good message to it, I would, because me, I always like my show to be thoughtful. So it's not to say this is the way it should be done. You should do it this way. But if I can have you think, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Then I've done my job as a writer.
You're right. Because hey, you said something there, because being a writer, you have to look at things the other way.
You got to see it.
We always look at it one way, but we never jump out that box and look at another different perspective.
Right.
So I was talking to this I don't know who I was talking to. It was this particular song that came on, and I said, guys, get up in the morning one time and just look at your wife in the face. And when she wakes up, and then she can say, "What you looking at?" You explain, come back and he said, "The morning when you wake up with no makeup, that's the beauty I see in you."
Oh wow, okay.
Then she ought to be quiet and be thankful.
Right.
So some of the guys try to say, "Where you get that crap from?" I'm trying to smooth things over, so I tell men, "This is what you need to do in that."
Right.
So I said it one time on the air. One time I had the camera on me, and he told me my facial expression was funny, but I was being serious. But I don't know what my facial expression was. I just say, "Guys, try this," because I always tell men, "Try this one time." You always want to do what everybody with flowers, chocolate,
right.
something different.
Right.
Just try packing a suitcase and picking her up from work. Say, "We're going somewhere."
That's it. Yeah.
And then when she said, "Well, don't worry, I got you covered."
Right.
Now when that point comes, you don't appreciate that. You got to scratch your head and say, "What do I have here?" But 9 times out of 10, women will appreciate that.
That's true.
You do things to them like that. Like, I would tell everybody, go see your play. Who's on the verge of breaking up, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriends, husband, wife, don't make a difference. To go see that play, because the message is going to be, I don't even know what the message is.
Right.
But I'm talking like I know what it is, because when you explain to it, I think off air we're talking about, said sometimes people get ready for a divorce and they're pulled apart, and as they're talking, getting ready, I think you said it brings itself close together and they fall in love all over again.
It can happen that way.
And and that's the beauty of this play coming out.
Right.
And I gotta see those characters, because
well,
I don't know. I gotta come see them.
Well, and to your point, when you're in a relationship, or when you sometimes life happens, right? So sometimes you get into that mundane type thinking or living, and then it does take that thinking outside the box or living outside the box. But sometimes that doesn't happen until chaos comes first.
Yeah.
So that's kind of all the plot of the story too. So we're there. The actors are there to take the audience on a journey, and it's going to be a good journey. I believe so.
You know what a good journey is? Falling in love. The reason why I say that, because to most people, they always say they had love at first sight, but sometimes love is a gradual thing. Once you're working around people, you get to know them. You go out on a couple of dates, and all of a sudden, down the line, you fell in love. Also, just the opposite. You could fall out of love and don't even know when you fell out of love. It goes like that. So you got to remember what brought you together.
Right.
Because if you don't remember that, it could tear you apart.
Right. That's true. And also in the play, I feel that a marriage is like the highest vow one can take. And if things are going south, you owe it to each other to try to work it out before you just throw it away. Yeah. And I just think in today's time, in all relationships, friendships, dating, whether marriage, whatever, people are so easy to throw it away like it's an old world worn pair of shoes. before working on it.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like what's implied in the story too. So it gives you like there's some tips, that you should take before you cross that line.
I was what was that? Somebody said, oh, I can't remember who it was. He said, before you even take those vows and do anything, number one, you didn't know each other.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know each other's parents. You didn't know your finance.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know if that person so happened, God forbid something happened to them, are you able to take care of everything?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of things that go into marriage saying, I do.
Mhm.
Yeah, when you do, you do. And a lot of people don't realize when you marry a family.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And that's where I can't stand that. I can't stand that. But then why did you get married?
Yeah.
Right. It's a family deal because you bring the two families together.
That's
And
true.
and it's why is the old saying that in-laws never get along?
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's always the case, but
because everybody get along with each other. You look at it this way, and then I was gonna say something else, and then when first grandbaby come along, oh boy, them in-laws fight. I watched all that and everything. So being married is like, I don't want to sound so callous. It's like a business because you got to create a relationship with your in-laws totally different on how they were brought up compared to how you was brought up. So you merging two families together, one may believe in corporal punishment, one may not.
Mm-hmm.
It's certain things that you believe in and all that stuff. Somebody cooking is fine, somebody's not. I'm just telling you right now, some of y'all need to learn how to have some cooking lessons. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
But I don't know if that dilts and all that. I'm probably going a little deeper than that.
Yeah. You gonna be,
but you look at all that in a nutshell. So in other words, I think you need to date at least a couple of years where you say, let's get married.
Okay.
To find out. That's just my opinion.
That's fair.
Just wait a little bit because you never know. Keep waiting, come waiting, come waiting. All right, that's the one.
Okay.
So
Okay.
It's the right one for you when you do things that you normally don't do. Mm-hmm. And that means you really appreciate that person and you do things for them and that's the right one for you, especially when that person gets sick. Mm-hmm. That's the testing point right there. If that person gets sick and you're right there by their side, mm-hmm. no matter what, you're there, then that's the right one for you.
I agree.
So, what's your play coming up? Next Friday is a day for it.
22nd, 23rd.
And I am waiting for that day. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get a pair of tickets to give away on the show.
Okay.
Let's see anybody want to go. I'm gonna go ahead and do that and get that together to help out. So I make sure I get all that, get people interested in it. And do you have any? I put out a flyer yesterday. I put that out. And do you have any other flyers besides the one that you have right now out? Have any additional one? Because I won't put a little slideshow together with the flyer. Do you have any pictures of rehearsal or anything?
I do.
If you can send those to me, I'd like to put a slideshow together this weekend.
Okay.
And put it on there. I'll put it on Facebook so everybody can see what's going on and build momentum on.
Okay.
So if you can share some of that with me, I'll put one together and get it out there for you.
Okay.
And everything. So
I can do that.
So now your audience, do they get rowdy?
They have. I mean, but in a good way.
Yeah, I gotta say.
But that's what I like. I mean, that's hey, when you write it to where you draw that emotion out, and when it's played just right, you want the audience to be involved. So that's a good thing.
That was the wrong word I usually rowdy.
Yeah. They'll be throwing chairs and all that on there, but
I like Alabama, right?
Yeah, they don't be doing any of that.
Do your audience get involved?
They do.
Okay.
In a major way. I'm real thankful they do that. Yeah. A good play will cause people to.
Do you have them jump up right in the middle of somebody saying a line they want to say something?
I haven't had that. Okay. I mean, that's. I don't think I've had that.
Well, maybe I need to come there and say, hey.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had that. Yeah, I hope not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you got on the horizon? Because I know you, Bobby. I know you got something coming up.
Well, I usually do, but the truth is I have high hopes for this play. So we already have two shows booked after the San Antonio show. We have Killeen and Fort Worth, and then I'll be Killeen in October 27, 28, and then Fort Worth November 18th, and then in the new year, well, I'll probably add one more show before the beginning of December. But then we'll start back up early next year, and then I'll, add Houston and a lot of shows to that. But my goal is to get outside of Texas. Okay. The furthest that we've gone with our production is Oklahoma, in the past, and so now I want to start going as far as we can. And I believe this play really has that potential to do great things. So I'm going to focus on that, and then I also want to turn it into a film. Okay. At some point, but right now I'm thinking touring nationally with this.
Oh, I love that. So what do you think about San Antonio? I always brag about San Antonio. There's a lot of artists here. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things here. I don't know why we go to Dallas and Houston and skip over San Antonio. There's so much here to give. So what do you feel about San Antonio being the Mecca now? Just what you're doing right now. There's room for this going on. And a lot of people will, let me just point blank say like this. If you live in San Antonio, because when I stayed in Illinois, I wouldn't go to the theme parks up there. I'll go out of town and go to a theme park, and I got it right there in my backyard, and I won't go to it.
Well, Chicago is a little different, especially back in the years though. Well, in my assessment, my personal thing is that San Antonio is a great city, and you're right. A lot of the big touring plays don't come here in past years, and even the big major concerts. But and this is interesting because me and my friends, a few of my friends, we have all these different types of debates, and from a lot of different subjects, and that's one of the things that we talk about. But you got to remember, San Antonio is, at one point we had 6, 7 military bases, and a lot of people come back here, so it's a place, mainly for retirement. So most people, work all week, and most people are good, like just having a kickback at home, having friends over, having a barbecue. So it's not that type of going out vibe where they have to be out. Whereas in, Houston or Dallas, you can have a big name artist over here, you can have one over here, you can have one over there. They'll all be sold out, and there'll still be, other venues where there's plenty of people at. So you have more people that are used to those big shows, and they're used to going out. Whereas in here, I think it's more reserved, it's more family raising, it's more about that type of community. So, it is a big difference, Yeah. But I have a lot of friends that say, well, Bobby, man, if you would have lived in Houston or Dallas or Atlanta, you'd have done blew up by now. But I will say that I've honed my skills from between San Antonio and Killeen. Yeah. And that has allowed me to have the product that I have today. Amen to that. So, and it's good because you're right here. And people do say that San Antonio is a big city with a small town atmosphere. Right. Right. And stuff. And we're 7% Black compared to Dallas and Houston. So that has something to do with it. Right. Well, you're right. I was going to mention that, but that is true. Yeah. And if you look at San Antonio, the Blacks is not in just one area. We're scattered all over San Antonio. And that's the thing, because we are so spread out, and then we don't have like a major hub to where everybody can know what's going on. Like we used to have the Tom Joyner before, or the radio station, but they didn't renew the contract. So for whatever reason, but we don't have, main radio stations like that. So, that presents another problem.
Yeah.
So how do people hear
Get
about
word
it?
out.
If you're all the way on 1604 and then, there's, San Antonio's grown too.
Yeah.
So, 1604 in those areas, most people don't come into town anymore.
Yeah.
So, if they did not hear about it on Facebook, how do they hear about it? So,
And that's the reason why WSN Radio is here. I'm making it their platform.
okay.
They come here anytime they get ready. That's why I reach out to you. I mean, this is their platform. You want to know about something? Come on. You come and have a seat right where you at right there, and we can talk about it. I started some more shows. I got I don't know if you know William Collier. I got him started with his Jazz Hop Fix. Where he's doing a radio show every other Saturday here.
Okay.
Then I got Dr. Marcel Lee. She got a religious show going on right here. She's doing that. Plus I got other shows coming on, and that's the way of getting the word out. Trying to do all that to get the word out, but can't force feed anybody.
No, you can't. You can't.
You get the word out, and best you do is if you did your very best, that's all God's looking for.
That's right.
You're doing your very best.
Right.
Okay. In closing, you want to say anything to people out there that you want them to know about?
I just want to thank everybody for supporting us through the years, and we have a good one lined up for you next weekend. You come out to the play Divorce Save My Marriage. You're going to be thoroughly entertained.
All right. Bobby, appreciate you stopping by.
Thank
you for tuning in to WSAN Radio. We had Bobby McMorris in here, and it was a nice show. The things he was saying, the things he was doing, and I love the way how he went back and talked about how he first got the theater bug out in L.A. So thank you, Bobby, for stopping by. And sometime next week, we're going to try to get the whole cast in here. So we appreciate everybody tuning in to WSAN Radio. Peace and chicken grease. And y'all have a very blessed weekend.